Just wear something cute from your closet, honey. Maybe that blue dress from Easter. My mother's voice floated through the phone like she was discussing the weather, not my wedding. My wedding. The one I'd been planning for 8 months. Mum, Oh, and Frederick thinks the backyard would be perfect. We can string up some lights, maybe get a cake from Costco. Keep it simple, you know. I sat in my car outside the bridal boutique, staring at the appointment confirmation on my phone. The same boutique where my brother Taylor had taken his fiancée Ivy just 3 weeks ago. The same boutique where my parents had happily written a check for her custom Vera Wang gown. How much are you spending on Taylor's wedding again? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Well, that's different, sweetheart. Taylor's wedding is at the country club. There are expectations. But you and Milo are so low-key, and honestly, intimate ceremonies are so much more meaningful. $300,000. That's what my father had whispered to me last month when he thought no one was listening. $300,000 for Taylor's perfect day. I have to go, Mum. Don't forget to RSVP for the engagement party next week. Ivy's mother is flying in from California. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. 31 years old, and I still looked like the quiet middle child who learned early that asking for things only led to disappointment. My name is Kendra, and I've been invisible my entire life. Not literally, of course. I show up to family dinners, I send birthday cards, I laugh at Taylor's jokes and compliment Ivy's Instagram posts, but invisible in the way that matters, the way where your dreams get the same budget as a grocery run. The boutique door chimed as I walked in, and the consultant's face lit up. Kendra, I was wondering if you'd changed your mind. I have your dress ready for the final fitting. The dress. The one I'd saved for 6 months to afford. The one that cost more than my car payment, but less than the flowers at Taylor's engagement party. Actually, I need to cancel. Her smile faltered. Oh. Is everything okay? Everything's perfect. I drove home in silence, past the country club where Taylor's reception would be held, past the florist where Ivy had ordered orchids flown in from Hawaii. When I pulled into my driveway, Milo was waiting on the porch with takeout containers and that patient expression he wore when he knew I was upset. Rough day? My mother thinks I should wear something from my closet to our wedding. He set down the food and pulled me close. Milo never pushed for details, never demanded explanations. He just waited until I was ready to talk. She suggested the blue dress from Easter, the one with the stain on the sleeve. That's the one. We ate dinner in comfortable silence until Milo finally spoke. What do you want to do? It was such a simple question, but no one had asked me that in years. What did I want? Not what was practical, not what was expected, not what would keep the peace. I want to matter. You matter to me. I know. I reached across the table and took his hand. But I want to matter to them too, just once. That night I lay awake thinking about Taylor's childhood bedroom with its trophies and certificates, private school tuition paid without question, college debt forgiven when he couldn't find a job, the down payment on his house that came from our parents' emergency fund. Meanwhile, I'd worked 3 jobs to pay for community college. Bought my first car with babysitting money, moved out at 19, because staying meant watching Taylor get everything I'd ever wanted handed to him on a silver platter. The worst part wasn't the money. It was the casual way they dismissed my accomplishments while celebrating his mediocrity. Taylor's C+ in calculus earned a celebration dinner. My acceptance to art school earned a lecture about practical career choices. Kendra? Milo's voice was soft in the darkness. Yeah? Marry me. I turned to face him. What? Tomorrow, this weekend, I don't care when, but marry me before they can make it about anyone else. Milo, I'm serious. We can drive to the mountains, find a little chapel, just us. I thought about the dress hanging in my closet, the venue deposit I'd already paid, the invitation sitting in my desk drawer, waiting to be addressed. Then I thought about my mother's voice. Just wear something cute. Yes? Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. This weekend. He kissed me then, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Later, after Milo fell asleep, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and a calendar. I circled Taylor's wedding date in red ink and smiled. Perfect timing. The chapel sat tucked between two pine trees like something from a fairy tale. White clappered siding, stained glass windows no bigger than picture frames, and a hand-painted sign that read, Mountain View Wedding Chapel. Walk-ins welcome. This is it? Milo squeezed my hand as we climbed the wooden steps. This is perfect. The minister was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and laugh lines. She wore a simple navy dress and sensible shoes, nothing like the elaborate officiant my parents had hired for Taylor's ceremony. "You two look nervous," she said, smiling. "First marriage for both of you?" "Yes, ma'am." Milo's voice cracked slightly. "Good. The nervous ones usually last longer." She led us into the chapel, which held maybe 20 people if they squeezed together. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass, casting rainbow patterns on the worn wooden pews. "Do you have rings?" I pulled the simple gold band from my purse. We'd bought it at a pawn shop on the drive-up, laughing about how romantic it wasn't. But when Milo slipped it onto my finger, it felt more real than any diamond. "Any family joining us today?" "No," I said quickly. "Just us." The minister nodded like she understood. Sometimes the most important promises are made in quiet. The ceremony lasted 15 minutes. No orchestra, no flower petals, no photographer capturing every angle. Just Milo and me, promising to love each other in front of a woman who'd married hundreds of couples and still teared up during the vows. "You may kiss your wife." Wife. The word sent a shiver through me that had nothing to do with the mountain air. Afterward, we drove to a diner with red vinyl booths and a waitress who called everyone Hon. Milo ordered pie, and I got coffee that tasted like it had been brewing since morning. "So, Mrs. Bryant," he grinned across the table, "how does it feel?" "Different. Good different." My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Don't forget about Taylor's bachelor party planning meeting tomorrow. Ivy needs help with the details." I turned the phone face down. "You okay?" "Just family stuff." "Want to talk about it?" I looked at my husband, sitting across from me in his wrinkled button-down shirt, tie loosened around his neck. He'd taken the day off work without question, driven 3 hours into the mountains, and married me in a chapel that cost $50. "What do you really want, Kendra?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we just got married in secret because your family made you feel invisible. That's not normal." "It's complicated." "Try me." I stirred my coffee, watching the cream swirl. "When I was 12, I made the honour roll every semester. Straight A's. My parents put the certificate on the refrigerator for exactly 1 week before Taylor's soccer trophy took its place. That sucks. When I was 16, I won a state art competition, $500 prize. You know what my mother said?" Milo waited. She said, "That's nice, honey. Did you remember to pick up Taylor's dry cleaning?" Jesus! I stopped trying after that, stopped expecting them to notice. "It was easier, but you're still angry. Wouldn't you be?" He reached across the table and took my hand. "Yeah, I would be." We drove to a bed and breakfast that looked like it belonged on a postcard. The owner, a chatty woman named Ruth, insisted on opening a bottle of champagne when she heard we'd just gotten married. "How long have you two been together?" 3 years, Milo answered. "And what made you decide to elope?" I almost laughed. "Family drama." "Ah." Ruth nodded knowingly. "Sometimes the best weddings are the ones where you don't have to manage everyone else's expectations." That night, lying in a bed that smelled like lavender and old wood, I stared at the ceiling while Milo slept beside me. My phone lit up with notifications, Instagram photos from Ivy's bachelorette party, text messages about flower arrangements and seating charts, a voicemail from my mother asking if I could help address invitations. $300,000 for one day. For one person who'd never had to work for anything in his life. I slipped out of bed and pulled a manila folder from my suitcase, the one I'd been carrying around for 2 weeks, the one I hadn't shown Milo yet. Selena King, private investigator, was printed across the business card clipped to the first page. I'd hired her on impulse after seeing Ivy's engagement photos. Something about her perfect smile, her perfect life, her perfect insertion into my family had felt wrong. Like she was trying too hard to be exactly what everyone wanted. The first report was thin, basic background information, employment history, college records, normal stuff. But the second report, the one that had arrived yesterday, made my hands shake as I read it. Oh my God! Milo stirred beside me. Everything okay? I closed the folder quickly, just checking work emails. On our wedding night. Sorry, go back to sleep. But I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching the moon through the pine trees, and planned exactly how I was going to make my family see me. For once in my life, I was going to be impossible to ignore. Selena's office smelled like coffee and cigarettes, with filing cabinets that looked like they'd survived several decades. She was nothing like the private investigators on TV, no leather jacket or mysterious sunglasses. Just a middle-aged woman in a cardigan who looked like she could be someone's aunt. You're not going to like what I found. She slid 3 manila folders across her desk. Each one was labelled with a different name: Ivy Moore, Rachel Murphy, and something called Clearwater Financial LLC. Start with the first one. I opened Ivy's folder. Bank statements, credit reports, employment records. Everything looked normal until I reached the 3rd page. She's been married before? Twice. First marriage was annulled after 6 months when her husband discovered she'd been using his social security number to open credit cards. Second marriage lasted 2 years before he filed for divorce citing financial fraud. Taylor doesn't know this. I'd bet money on it. Look at the next folder. Rachel Murphy. The name sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. She was Taylor's college roommate's girlfriend. They stayed friends after graduation. Ivy met her at your brother's birthday party last year. The photos made my stomach drop. Ivy and Rachel at restaurants, shopping together, entering and leaving the same apartment building. But the timestamps showed these weren't casual friend dates. They're business partners. Rachel's been helping Ivy run credit card scams for 3 years. They target men from wealthy families, build relationships, gain access to financial information. You're saying Ivy married my brother for money. I'm saying she married your brother because your parents have money. The wedding, the house down payment, the joint accounts, it's all access. My hands shook as I opened the 3rd folder. Bank statements showing transfers between accounts I didn't recognise. Tax documents for a business that didn't seem to exist. And at the bottom, a photocopy of a social security card. My social security card. They've been using your information to establish credit lines. Small amounts at first, nothing that would trigger alerts, but it's escalated. How much? $47,000 so far. The room spun. 47,000. The beauty of their system is that it looks legitimate. Ivy has access to family financial information through Taylor. She knows your parents' income, your employment history, enough personal details to pass basic verification. I stared at the documents until the numbers blurred together. What happens now? That depends on what you want to do. I can take this to the police, but financial fraud cases move slowly. By the time anything happens, they could disappear with a lot more money. What's the alternative? Selena leaned back in her chair. You could confront them privately. Sometimes the threat of exposure is enough to make people disappear quietly. Or Or you could let them hang themselves. Give them enough rope. See how far they're willing to go. I thought about Taylor's bachelor party last weekend. How Ivy had insisted on paying for everything, flashing credit cards like she was some kind of heiress. How my parents had praised her generosity. How long would that take? Based on their pattern, not long. They're getting bolder, taking bigger risks. I'd say you have maybe 6 weeks before they either get caught or disappear. 6 weeks. Taylor's wedding was in 5. I need to think about this. Don't think too long. Every day you wait, they steal more. I drove home in a daze, Selina's folders on the passenger seat like evidence of a crime I was somehow complicit in. When I walked into the house, Milo was in the kitchen making dinner. How was your meeting? Complicated. He looked at the folders in my hands. Want to talk about it? Not yet. That night I sat at my computer and started typing. Wedding venue inquiries, catering requests, invitation designs. If my family wanted a wedding, I'd give them one they'd never forget. The Rosewood Gardens venue had an opening in 4 weeks. Perfect timing, right between Taylor's bachelor party and his wedding. The coordinator, a bubbly woman named Sarah, was thrilled to help plan a surprise vow renewal ceremony. It's so romantic. How long have you been married? 2 weeks. Oh, well, that's unique, but love is love, right? I booked the garden pavilion, ordered flowers, hired a photographer. Everything my parents had refused to pay for, I charged to my own credit card. The irony wasn't lost on me, going into debt to expose someone who'd been stealing my identity. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Ivy asked if you could help with wedding favours tomorrow. She's at the house around 2. Perfect. I typed back, can't tomorrow, but I have exciting news. Milo and I are having a ceremony next month. Nothing big, just family and close friends. Hope you can make it. The response came immediately. That's wonderful, honey. A backyard vow renewal sounds so sweet. I stared at the screen, then typed, not the backyard. I booked Rosewood Gardens. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. That seems expensive for a renewal ceremony. Don't worry about the cost, just be there. You won't want to miss it. I hit send and closed my laptop. In 4 weeks, my family would finally see exactly who I was. And more importantly, they'd see exactly who Ivy was too. You want me to what? Raquel nearly choked on her latte. Pretend to be my maid of honour. Help me coordinate the timing. Make sure everything goes smoothly. We sat in our usual corner booth at the coffee shop where we'd been meeting every Tuesday for 3 years. Raquel was the only person who knew about my real wedding, and now she was the only person who'd know about my fake one. Kendra, this is insane. You're planning an entire wedding just to expose your sister-in-law? She's not my sister-in-law yet, and she's been stealing my identity for months. So call the police. And what? Watch her get a slap on the wrist while my family rallies around poor Taylor? No, I want them to see exactly who she is. Raquel stirred her drink, thinking. What does Milo say about this? He doesn't know the details yet. Kendra, I'll tell him when it's time. When is it time? When you're standing at the altar with a folder full of evidence? I pulled out my notebook, pages covered with timelines and guest lists. The ceremony starts at 4, cocktail hour from 4:30 to 5:30. That's when Selina arrives, dressed as the officiant. The private investigator is going to officiate your fake wedding. She's ordained online. Apparently half her cases involve cheating spouses, so she got certified to blend in at weddings. This keeps getting weirder. During dinner, I give a toast, something about family and truth. That's Selina's cue to present the evidence. Raquel leaned back in her chair. And then what? Ivy confesses and apologises. Your parents suddenly realise they've been terrible. Everyone lives happily ever after. I don't care about happily ever after. I care about them finally seeing me. They'll see you all right, as the daughter who destroyed their son's wedding. The words stung, because they were probably true. But I'd spent 31 years being the daughter who didn't matter. Maybe it was time to be the daughter they couldn't ignore. "Will you help me or not?" Raquel sighed. "Of course I'll help you, but I think you're going to regret this." That evening, I sat on the couch with Milo, my laptop balanced on my knees. Wedding planning websites filled the screen: flowers, decorations, menu options. "This is a lot of work for a vow renewal," he said carefully. "I want it to be special." "It's already special, we're married." I closed the laptop. "Milo, what if I told you that everything about my family was worse than you thought?" "I'd say that's hard to imagine." "What if I told you that Ivy has been stealing from us, from me specifically?" His expression shifted. "What do you mean, stealing?" I told him everything: the private investigator, the fake identities, the credit cards opened in my name. I showed him the bank statements and the photos of Ivy with Rachel. "Jesus Christ, Kendra, why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I knew you'd want to call the police." "I do want to call the police. This is fraud, identity theft. She could go to prison." "Good. But first I want my family to know exactly who they chose over me." Milo was quiet for a long time. "This isn't just about the money, is it?" "No. It's about them never seeing you." "When I was 8, I made my mother a birthday card, spent hours on it, drew all these little flowers around the edges. You know what she said when I gave it to her?" "What?" She said, "That's nice, sweetie." "Did you see the necklace Taylor picked out for me?" He'd bought her a $20 pendant from the mall with his allowance money. My handmade card got stuck on the refrigerator for exactly 1 day. "That's awful." When I was 15, I got accepted to a summer art program. Full scholarship, really competitive. I was so excited to tell them. But when I walked into the kitchen, they were on the phone with Taylor's guidance counsellor, talking about his college applications. I stood there for 10 minutes waiting for them to notice me. Did they? Eventually, my mother covered the phone and whispered, "Not now, Kendra. This is important." Milo pulled me closer. "I'm sorry." I stopped trying after that, stopped expecting them to care. It was easier than being disappointed over and over. "But now you want them to care?" "No. Now I want them to see what they missed, what they threw away for someone who's been lying to all of us. And if it backfires?" "If they blame you instead of her?" I thought about that. About the possibility that even faced with evidence of Ivy's crimes, my parents would find a way to make it my fault. Then at least I'll know where I stand. "You already know where you stand. You've always known." "Maybe, but they don't know where they stand with me." Milo was quiet for a moment. "Are you sure you won't regret this?" I looked at him, this man who'd married me in a mountain chapel without question, who'd never made me feel invisible or unimportant. "What I regret is letting them forget I exist." The morning of the ceremony, I woke up at 5:30 and couldn't fall back asleep. Milo was already in the shower, humming something off-key the way he did when he was nervous. "You ready for this?" he called through the bathroom door. "As ready as someone can be for their fake wedding. That's the spirit." By noon, Rosewood Gardens looked like something from a magazine. White chairs arranged in perfect rows, fairy lights strung between the oak trees, flowers everywhere. Sarah, the coordinator, buzzed around making final adjustments. "Your family is going to be so surprised. I've never planned a secret vow renewal before." If only she knew how surprised they were going to be. Raquel arrived first, carrying a garment bag and a bottle of wine. "Liquid courage," she said, pouring 2 glasses. "You're going to need it." "Is that your maid of honour speech?" "My maid of honour speech is going to be very short. Something like, 'Kendra is brave and slightly insane, and I love her for it.'" At 3:15, cars started pulling into the parking lot. My parents arrived in their Mercedes, my mother wearing a navy dress that probably cost more than my rent. She looked around the venue with barely concealed surprise. "Kendra, this is lovely, much nicer than I expected." "Thanks, Mum, that means a lot." My father hugged me awkwardly. You look beautiful, sweetheart. I was wearing a white pantsuit instead of a dress, something that felt more like armour than wedding attire. My mother had already commented on it twice. Very modern, she'd said, which in Loretta speak meant inappropriate. Taylor and Ivy arrived 20 minutes later. Taylor looked uncomfortable in his suit, like he'd rather be anywhere else. Ivy wore a pink dress that probably cost more than my entire outfit, her smile bright and perfect. Kendra, this is such a sweet idea, a little vow renewal ceremony. It's not exactly a renewal, I said carefully. Oh, right, a recommitment ceremony. How romantic. She hugged me, and I smelled her expensive perfume, the same scent she'd been wearing the day she met my family. Everything about her was calculated, from her highlighted hair to her designer shoes. Where's the officiant? My mother asked, checking her watch. She'll be here soon. More guests trickled in. Milo's parents, who'd driven down from Portland. A few cousins I'd invited mostly to fill seats. Ivy's mother, who'd flown in from California and kept taking photos of everything. At 3:45, a woman in a simple black dress walked through the garden gate. Selina looked nothing like a private investigator today. She carried a leather portfolio and wore the kind of serene expression that made her seem like she'd been officiating weddings for decades. Ivy glanced at her, then looked again. Something flickered across her face. Recognition, maybe, or just confusion. Is that your officiant? Taylor asked. That's Reverend King, I said. She comes highly recommended. Ivy's face went pale. She grabbed Taylor's arm and whispered something in his ear, but he was already walking toward the altar area, straightening his tie. Places, everyone, Sarah called out. The ceremony is about to begin. I took my position at the back of the aisle, Raquel beside me holding a small bouquet. The photographer I'd hired started snapping pictures, and the string quartet began playing Pachelbel's canon. You sure about this? Raquel whispered. Too late to back out now. I walked down the aisle slowly, making eye contact with each guest. My parents sat in the front row, my mother dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Taylor and Ivy were in the second row, Ivy's hands clenched in her lap. Milo waited for me at the altar, handsome in his navy suit, his expression unreadable. When I reached him, he took my hands and squeezed gently. Hi, wife, he whispered. Hi, husband. Selina opened her portfolio and smiled at the gathered guests. Welcome, everyone, to this very special celebration of love and commitment. I scanned the crowd, about 30 people total, all of them expecting a sweet little ceremony about renewed vows and eternal love, none of them knowing they were about to witness something very different. Before we begin, Selina continued, Kendra has asked to say a few words about family, truth, and the bonds that tie us together. This was it, the moment I'd been planning for weeks. I stepped forward, my heart pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. When you grow up invisible, I began, my voice carrying clearly across the garden, you learn to see what others miss. Ivy shifted in her seat. Taylor frowned, like he was trying to figure out where this was going. You learn to notice the small things, the way people look at each other when they think no one's watching, the way they talk when they think no one's listening. My mother tilted her head, confused. My father checked his watch. You learn that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones hiding the biggest secrets. Selina reached into her portfolio and pulled out a silver briefcase I hadn't seen before. She set it on the small table beside the altar and looked directly at Ivy. Ivy's face went white. She grabbed Taylor's hand and started to stand up. I think there's been some mistake, she said, her voice shaking. No mistake, I said calmly. Please sit down. We're just getting started. Taylor looked between his wife and me, confusion written all over his face. Kendra, what's going on? Selina opened the briefcase with a soft click that seemed to echo through the garden. That's what we're here to find out. Selina lifted the first document from the briefcase. Bank statements from Clearwater Financial LLC, showing deposits totaling $47,000 over the past 8 months. What does this have to do with Kendra's wedding? My mother asked, her voice sharp with confusion. Everything, I said, because that money was stolen using my social security number. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Taylor stood up, his face red. Kendra, what the hell are you doing? Sit down, Taylor. My voice was steady, calm. You're going to want to hear this. Selina held up a second document. Credit applications filed in Kendra's name using personal information that only someone with intimate family access could have obtained. Ivy was shaking now, her perfect composure cracking. This is ridiculous. I don't know what she's talking about. Don't you? Selina pulled out a photograph. This is you and Rachel Murphy entering a Wells Fargo branch in downtown Portland on March 15th. The same day someone opened a credit line using Kendra's information. I've never seen that woman before in my life. Really, because here's a photo of you and Rachel at Taylor's birthday party last year, and here's another one of you having lunch together 3 weeks ago. More photographs scattered across the table. Ivy and Rachel shopping together, entering the same apartment building, sitting in a car outside a bank. Those could be anyone, Ivy said desperately. Taylor grabbed one of the photos. Ivy, who is this woman? I told you I don't know her. But you do know her, Selina continued. Rachel Murphy, your business partner in a credit fraud operation that's been running for 3 years. She helped you target your first husband and your second husband, and now she's helping you target the Moore family. This is insane, Ivy jumped to her feet. Taylor, we're leaving, now. No. Taylor's voice was quiet, dangerous. We're not going anywhere until I understand what's happening. My father stood up slowly. Kendra, what is this about? It's about Ivy stealing my identity to fund her lifestyle. It's about her using our family's trust to commit fraud. It's about her lying to all of us. You're jealous, Ivy spat. You've always been jealous of what Taylor and I have. What you have is built on stolen money and lies. Selina pulled out another document. Marriage certificate for Ivy Chen and Marcus Williams, dated 2019. Divorce papers filed 18 months later citing financial fraud. My name isn't Chen, Ivy said quickly. It was when you married Marcus, just like it was Patricia Chen when you married David Rodriguez in 2017. The crowd was silent now, everyone staring at Ivy like they were seeing her for the first time. How many names have you used? Taylor asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Taylor, don't listen to this. She's making it up because she can't stand that your parents love me. Love you? I laughed, and it came out sharper than I intended. They don't love you, Ivy. They love the idea of you, the perfect daughter-in-law who makes their golden boy look successful. Kendra, my mother warned. No, Mom, I'm done being quiet. I'm done pretending this family isn't completely screwed up. Selina held up another photograph. This was taken last Tuesday outside the Marriott downtown. Ivy and a man named Charlie Peterson. Taylor went very still. Charlie? My Charlie? Your best friend Charlie, yes. They've been meeting regularly for 6 months. The photo was damning. Ivy and Charlie kissing in the hotel parking lot, her hand on his chest, his arm around her waist. That's not what it looks like, Ivy said, but her voice was weak now. What does it look like, Ivy? Taylor's voice was deadly quiet. We were just talking. About your surprise party. My surprise party was 8 months ago. Selina pulled out the final document. Audio recording from last week. Ivy's voice talking to Rachel about the Moore family. She pressed play on a small digital recorder. Ivy's voice filled the garden, clear and unmistakable. The parents are so desperate for Taylor to be successful, they'll believe anything. And Kendra's so pathetic, she won't even notice if we use parts of her social for the LLC. She's too busy feeling sorry for herself to pay attention. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father stared at Ivy like he'd never seen her before. "That's not my voice," Ivy said weakly. "Voice analysis confirms it's a match," Selina said, "along with phone records showing calls between your number and Rachel's every day for the past 6 months." Taylor was staring at his wife like she was a stranger. "Ivy, tell me this isn't true." "Taylor, I can explain." "Tell me you didn't steal from my sister. Tell me you didn't cheat on me with my best friend. Tell me you didn't lie about everything." Ivy looked around the garden at 30 pairs of eyes staring at her, waiting for an answer. "I love you," she whispered. "That's not an answer." Taylor grabbed the microphone from Selina's table, his hands shaking. "You think this is justice?" he shouted, his voice echoing through the speakers. "You don't know anything, Kendra." "You want to know the truth?" Taylor's voice cracked through the microphone. "Fine. I knew about the credit cards. I knew about Rachel. I knew about all of it." The crowd erupted in whispers. My mother gasped audibly. "Taylor, what are you saying?" my father demanded. "I'm saying Ivy needed help, and I helped her. She made some mistakes in her past, but everyone deserves a second chance." "Mistakes?" I stepped closer to him. "She stole $47,000 using my identity. She was desperate. Her ex-husband left her with nothing. She needed a fresh start." "So you decided to give her mine?" Taylor's face was red, sweat beading on his forehead. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Mom and Dad expect me to be perfect, to have the perfect wife, the perfect life." "Ivy helps me maintain that." "By committing fraud?" "By doing what she had to do." I reached for the microphone, but Taylor pulled it away. "You think you're so innocent, Kendra. You hired a private investigator to spy on my wife. You planned this whole elaborate setup to humiliate us in front of our family. I planned this to expose the truth. Your truth, your version of events. But you don't know what it's like to be me." The crowd was completely silent now, everyone transfixed by the spectacle unfolding. "What it's like to be you?" I laughed, and it came out bitter. "You mean what it's like to have everything handed to you? What it's like to have parents who pay for your mistakes and celebrate your mediocrity? That's not what it's like to have a $300,000 wedding while your sister gets told to wear something from her closet." "Kendra, stop," my mother said sharply. "No, I won't stop. I've been stopping my whole life, stopping myself from asking for things, stopping myself from expecting to matter, stopping myself from calling you out on 31 years of treating me like I'm invisible." I grabbed the microphone from Taylor's hands. "Love doesn't steal money," I said, my voice carrying clearly across the garden. "Love doesn't lie that well." Ivy stood up suddenly. "You don't understand what you're talking about." "Don't I? Selina, play the rest of the recording." Selina pressed another button on the digital recorder. Ivy's voice filled the air again, but this time she was talking to someone else. "The whole family is pathetic. Taylor's weak, the parents are desperate to look successful, and Kendra's so starved for attention she'll believe anything. We could probably clean out their accounts before anyone notices." A man's voice responded, "What about the wedding, all that money they're spending?" "That's the beauty of it. They're so focused on making Taylor look good, they're not paying attention to anything else. Kendra's so dumb she won't even notice if we use parts of her social for the LLC." The recording stopped. The silence was deafening. My mother was crying now, quiet tears streaming down her face. My father looked like he'd aged 10 years in the past 10 minutes. "That's enough," Ivy said, her voice shaking. "You've made your point." "Have I? Because I don't think you understand what you've done. You didn't just steal money. You stole my identity, my credit, my future. It was just temporary. Temporary. You've been planning this for months, maybe years." Taylor grabbed Ivy's arm. "Is it true? All of it?" "Taylor, I can explain." "Is it true?" Ivy looked around the garden one more time, at all the faces staring at her with disgust and shock. Then she straightened her shoulders and lifted her chin. Yes, it's true. The crowd exploded. People talking over each other, chairs scraping as guests stood up, my mother sobbing openly now. But you don't understand, Ivy continued, raising her voice. I did it for us, for our future. Your parents would never have accepted me if they knew about my past. So you decided to destroy my sister's future instead. She wasn't using it. Look at her. She works from home, drives a 10-year-old car, shops at thrift stores. She wasn't going to do anything with her credit anyway. The words hit me like a physical blow. Even now, even caught red-handed, she still saw me as nothing, as someone whose life didn't matter enough to protect. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of my wedding, get out of my family, get out of my life. Ivy looked at Taylor desperately. Taylor, say something. Tell them we can work this out. Taylor stared at his wife for a long moment. Then he pulled off his wedding ring and dropped it on the ground. We're done. He walked away, pushing through the crowd toward the parking lot. Ivy ran after him, her heels clicking on the stone path. Taylor, wait, please! In the stunned silence that followed, Raquel leaned over and whispered in my ear. So, was that enough? I looked out at the crowd of shocked faces, at my parents crying in the front row, at the scattered evidence of lies and betrayal covering the altar table. For the first time in my life, I felt completely, utterly seen. Yeah, I whispered back, that was enough. The clean-up took 2 hours. 30 guests had scattered like leaves in a windstorm, leaving behind half-eaten appetizers and whispered conversations that would fuel family gossip for decades. Milo and I sat on the garden steps, watching the catering staff pack up the untouched wedding cake. Your phone's been buzzing for 20 minutes, he said. I pulled it out. 17 missed calls from my mother, 12 from Taylor, and a string of texts from numbers I didn't recognize. Word was spreading fast. Kendra, we need to talk. My mother appeared at the garden gate, her makeup streaked, my father trailing behind her like a lost puppy. Now you want to talk? Please, just 5 minutes. I looked at Milo, who squeezed my hand and stood up. I'll be by the car. My parents sat across from me on the stone bench where the photographer had planned to take family portraits. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. I don't know what to say, my mother began. That's a first. Kendra, please, I know things haven't been fair. Fair, I laughed. Mum, you spent $300,000 on Taylor's wedding and told me to wear something from my closet. That's not unfair. That's cruel. My father cleared his throat. We never meant to make you feel invisible. But you did. For 31 years you made me feel like I didn't matter. Like my dreams, my achievements, my entire existence was just background noise to Taylor's life. We thought you were independent, my mother said weakly. You never asked for help. I stopped asking when I was 16. Remember the art program? The one I got accepted to on scholarship? I tried to tell you about it for 3 days, but you were too busy planning Taylor's graduation party to listen. My mother's face crumpled. I remember. Do you? Because I stood in the kitchen for 10 minutes while you talked to the caterer about Taylor's favourite cake. When you finally noticed me, you told me to wait because this was important. I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you just sorry you got caught? My father leaned forward. Kendra, we love you. No, you don't. You love the idea of me, the quiet daughter who doesn't cause problems, the one who shows up to family dinners and laughs at Taylor's jokes and never ever makes you uncomfortable. That's not true. Prove it. The silence stretched between us until my mother finally spoke. How? Start by not blaming me for this. Ivy stole my identity. Taylor helped her. They committed crimes against me, against our family. Don't you dare try to make this my fault for exposing it. We won't. And stop making excuses for Taylor. He's 33 years old. He made his choices. My father nodded slowly. You're right. I know I'm right. I've been right about a lot of things you never bothered to notice. My phone buzzed with a text from Raquel. News van just pulled up to your parents' house. Might want to avoid that area for a while. The media's at your house, I told them. My mother groaned. What are we supposed to tell them? The truth, that your son and daughter-in-law committed fraud and your other daughter exposed it. Kendra, I'm not protecting him anymore. I'm not protecting any of you. I stood up, brushing dirt off my white pantsuit. I'm going home now, with my husband, to the life I built without your help or your approval. Can we call you? When you're ready to see me as I actually am, instead of who you think I should be, then yes. You can call. I walked toward the parking lot, where Milo was leaning against our car, scrolling through his phone. Everything okay? He asked, getting there. Want to hear something interesting? Ivy was just arrested at the airport. Apparently she tried to board a flight to Mexico with Rachel and $50,000 in cash. Where did they get $50,000? Your parents' emergency account. Ivy had access through Taylor. I stared at him. She stole from them too? Looks like it. Taylor's being questioned as an accessory. We drove home in comfortable silence, past the news van parked outside my parents' house, past the country club where Taylor's wedding was supposed to happen next week, past all the landmarks of a life I was finally ready to leave behind. At home, I poured 2 glasses of wine and sat on our back porch with Milo, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. Was it worth it? He asked. I didn't answer immediately. I thought about my mother's tears, my father's shocked silence, Taylor's desperate attempts to justify the unjustifiable. I thought about 31 years of being invisible and 1 afternoon of being impossible to ignore. Ask me tomorrow. But even as I said it, I knew the answer. I'd spent my whole life disappearing to avoid disappointment. Today I'd chosen to appear, to be seen, to matter. I didn't want diamonds or flowers or lace. I wanted to be seen. And the day I walked down that aisle, not in a dress but in truth, I was finally impossible to ignore. The quiet one was quiet no longer.